What's going on, everyone? This is Jonathan with Cinco Squad. We're back for another week. As I said, the sports year is over. All we have is baseball, but Cinco Squad still keep pushing. Fellas, how you doing this evening?
Bored.
I'm doing okay. I was doing better about an hour ago, but we won't talk about the Yankees. How's everybody else doing?
Yankees blew 2-0 lead. That's what he's talking about.
Happy to bet them or the worst of them.
How you fellas doing down
You're
there?
playing good baseball, though. It's not like you're not playing good baseball. It's just
No, just right now.
Playing better baseball.
Not really. They're playing okay baseball. Not good playing good. It's okay.
Without
For being the fifth highest payroll in the league, you're supposed to be playing like the fifth highest payroll in the league. I mean, we could be the Mets, right? So,
but you're still playing without your best player, and you just had a no-hitter.
We're playing pretty good baseball. Not happy. I mean, the team should be where the Rays are, though. That's what I'm talking about. Is they should be where the Rays and the Braves are with the payroll that they have, the team they have, and everything. But it is what it is. So
it's a long summer.
It's a long summer, right?
I was kind of shocked to see the Angels have a winning record right now.
Yeah, they haven't been bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that West is wide open right now. I mean, Texas is leading it, but I mean, Houston's right there, LA's right there, Seattle can come up. July, August, September is really critical months in baseball season. So that's when baseball starts to get fun. So, but I'm exhausted tonight, fellas. I've been driving around Florida all afternoon. So, finally get settled back at home. Grandpa Jay, I know you're pretty wiped out from the day.
I'm holding on.
Yeah, but we got some good topics for this evening. Thanks for everyone tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Let's get right into it. Mike, what is in your cup?
Okay, so after
you got a cup this week?
We do not have a cup this week. We have ourselves canned because after last week's extravagant concoction, which tastes delicious, decided to go a little simpler. Also was telling John earlier that I kind of got to hold off on getting packs of things because I'm filling up my fridge real quick with these variety of things that I don't always want. So I gotta cut through those. But we decided to get ourselves a Club Tales pink lemonade cocktail in honor of the summer. I'm a big lemonade fan, so decided to get myself it's essentially an alcoholic pink lemonade.
That actually sounds a little better than the normal.
Yeah, the
happy to see you back as well.
Concoctions that he has.
Nah, it's a little better, a little more refreshing.
Is it? Yeah. Sounds refreshing, but still sounds like I can only have one of those and be okay.
I think from the first taste of how sugary it is, being that it's pink lemonade, I probably would only be able to have one too. I probably will only be able to have one, I should say.
Yeah, when Mike was telling me, he's like, when I have more drinks than food in my fridge, that's when I know I got to stop buying.
Pump the brakes.
I told him like, you got to find different recipes, or you got to have a party.
Yeah.
One of the two things got to happen.
Well, if you guys would get up here, we'll have a party.
We'll just we'll go on the stream. Just put us like robots, like TVs, and we'll just.
I'll get those rolling robots.
Well, Jamie, you showing us your nose here? What's going on over there?
Sorry, man. I'm just trying to see if I can get my laptop. Laptop's being all messed up again, so I'm just trying to figure this.
It's all good. The phone's working good.
No, I have to literally hit the point where like I don't care for sports at all right now. I don't even care what's going on in the NBA. I don't care what's going on in the NHL trade talks. I don't care what's going on in baseball because nothing matters really until next month. I'm just happy that the Rays aren't slumping as much as I thought they would on this road trip. So they're holding on and playing decent baseball. I don't care about no sports right now, bro, because ain't nothing to care about.
So that's why
if I was a Heat fan like you, I'd be concerned that trade talks with Dame are stalling out right now.
Not really concerned, actually, because ultimately there's not a good enough package. And I get where Portland's saying. Tyler Hero's not good enough to headline that package.
Right.
And everyone keeps saying Tyler Hero. It's got to be a multi-team trade. But the problem is the multi-team trade wants Dame. So they're not going to go in with the Heat. Exactly. And that's going to be the problem. And ultimately, Dame screwed himself by signing that 6-year extension when he could have signed a 3-year and be a free agent this year.
Yeah.
If he signed a 3-year deal back in, I think it was 2020, when the pandemic hit, he'd be a free agent this year. And
Yeah, but he wouldn't have
He
got
could
the
pick-
max. He was just thinking max at the time.
but he would have
Yeah.
got a max right now. Easily.
He would have gotten a max, but
If you don't stay with your team, it drops off significantly based on what you
Supermax.
also don't at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. They still have McCollum at that point.
Yes.
So Dame's maybe thinking at the time, and you know, if and buts and all that, we can kind of speculate what he was thinking at the time. But at the time, I would imagine he's thinking, well, I'd rather stay in Portland. I like Portland. I mean, by all accounts, he loves being in Portland and being a part of that community. And at the time, with McCollum and Nurkic and you know some of the pieces that they seem to be bringing in, it was well, it looks like we're planning on winning here, so I'll stay. But yes, in hindsight, that's a 3-year deal would have worked out perfectly for what ended up happening.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, right now he got paid, and
Mhm.
the hardest part is moving that contract and
Yes.
moving the teams. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not really worried as a Heat fan. We dumped Max Strus, which you know he was great for a couple of years, but I think he hit a plateau with the Heat. You know, he's not very good defensively. I think he's with Cleveland now, I believe.
Yeah.
He plays with Cleveland perfectly because he doesn't have to be a perimeter defense. He doesn't have to be an inside defender. He can be a perimeter defender where he's pretty much noble or where he should be. But I don't know. I mean, the trade.
Don't you think this would be more interesting if he had a no trade clause? You know, like if he had a no trade clause, it changes everything.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, and that just throws it into our first topic. That's if you guys would like to have a no trade clause as a player, and or take as a player, would you take the money? You know, so would you rather have the power or the money? Trey, I'll throw it down to you. What do you think?
For me, I mean, if I got to take a slight cut on my max deal for the no trade clause, I would, because the power I think is just worth in the long run. You're in complete control. If I'm a franchise, to be honest with you, with a no trade clause, you're going to have to give something back. So when you look at like the Bradley Beal deal, for example, he had all the power. People kept saying like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Phoenix is about to like screw him for that." But that's because Beal, anything they would have sent him to, he can say, "I'm not going there." So at that point, Beal at any moment now is a free agent. Once you get that no trade clause, you have umpteen control. Melo did it years ago. The Knicks wanted to send him here. He's like, no. Knicks want to send him here. He's like, no. Eventually, Melo's like, okay, I'll go there. So that gives you literally a max deal with free agency. Why wouldn't you do that? But even if I was, let's say, like a second tier player and somebody, let's say like a Chris Middleton type. If I'm a guy like Chris Middleton, I would take a little bit less of a haircut to take the no trade clause so the Bucks don't just send me anywhere. It gives me more control, which I think is worth it. But I think at the same time, these teams need to also reevaluate what they're doing with just handing out no trade clauses to people like Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is not a top 30 player. It's ridiculous that they even gave him a no trade clause.
When they signed it.
Huh? He was not when they signed it.
He was playing at an all-star level.
Not consistently. To be a top 30, you have to be a consistent all-star. He was not a consistent all-star. You would not think of Bradley Beal as a consistent all-star because he's not. Or a consistent all-NBA. He was not. Bradley Beal was always hurt when they signed him. So I absolutely disagree with that, of him being a top 30 player.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but Melo kind of started a bad trend in the NBA where the no trade clause became, you get one, you get one, you get one. And it seemed like that started to cut off over the last maybe 5 to 7 years. And it felt like a lot of players had those no trade clauses, even third tier type of players, not top tier to players. And you could correct me if I'm wrong. You would know more than me, but it seemed like Melo started that trend. It was kind of a bad trend because it seemed like that's where the owners and the GM it tilted more towards the players. Now it's starting to tilt back towards where it's now more GM, and now it's more kind of equal in a way. But for me personally, it all depends on what year it is, right? So if it's my first year after my rookie extension, I'd probably take the money. You know, security. You never know with an injury. So I'm going to take the money because you never know with an injury. Yeah, the no trade clause, but you never know with an injury that could put me out for the rest of my career. But I still got that guaranteed money. You know what I'm saying? So with that guaranteed money, yes, I'm paid. Even if a 4-year deal, if I make $250 million over those 4 years, and I end up flopping out after that, I got 250 mil. There's a lot of things you can do with that, in that aspect. So I get what you're saying with the no trade clause, where you have the power in the NBA to kind of go wherever you want. But it also puts your team into a kind of a pickle too, where you may not be able to go wherever you want, and that's okay for the player too, because you're still getting your money. But that's where my mindset's at on that. Jay,
this one's tough because you make a great point. Athletes don't know what that shelf life is. It's too unpredictable because, and we feared that Devin Booker was going to be a player that couldn't really play seasons because he seemed to be out hamstring, knee, ankle. Like it was one thing after the next, and you're like, well, has he hit his peak? And is he going to get the max deal and what he deserves and everything like that? So certain players, you start to see things happen, and that's should be the biggest fear as a professional athlete is. It's not necessarily am I fit enough to do this. Is my body, is something going to happen to me because I play so hard? Because it's almost like I'm reckless abandon while I'm doing what I'm doing, because a player like that gives as much of 100% as they can in the moment, whether it's regular season or playoffs. You've seen Devin Booker do incredible things. Just one example. Me personally, I would probably want the power, and that's more because. I would like thinking that if I have a family or I like where I am, I'm not just a chess piece that just gets moved in a trade because, someone else sees that they want something and they're going to go after it and I'm an attractive piece and boom, there you go. All of a sudden I'm packing up my crap and I love Sacramento, but now I'm heading out to Milwaukee. And even though they might be a championship contender, I could hate living in Milwaukee. I'd much rather have other things going for me, than just being on a team that can win. If my lifestyle is nice, if I like where I'm living, if I like, the activities outside of my profession that I could do, if I like that I could travel to places nearby and enjoy the experience and the life that I have where I am, I want to know that I can be in that city for 4, 5, 6 years, whatever my contract is. I'd like to have that, as opposed to hanging over my head and getting that phone call being like, hey, sorry, you better change your Twitter account and pack up. You're out of town next week if you pass a physical. So I would lean to more towards having the power to say, I don't want to go there.
Oh, damn. If you get traded, you got to change your Twitter account. Damn, that's the toughest part of the whole thing. Because you never know if you never know if Elon's gonna raise that price. Be like, all right, you change your Twitter account, you gotta pay $2.99.
It's not the burden of that. Right? I'm gonna say it's the burden of all that stuff.
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah, it's just like in a day span, all of a sudden you start following all your boys on, on the Kings, and it's like, why the hell did you do that? Like we were saying with Tyler. Mikey, where are you at with this?
Yeah, I think all you guys have made great points to both sides of it, and I definitely understand, where each side is coming from as far as the benefits, like the pros and cons to both. I would honestly have to go with having the power and wanting that no trade clause, because I'm still going to get, so my mindset is this: if I'm a player at the level, especially now, like John said, with how the league is tipping back into kind of a more balanced between players and teams as far as contractual things go. If I'm a player that's going to be worth a team offering me a no trade clause, I'm probably getting a lot of money anyway. Because these days, not everybody's getting offered it. It's really those consistently going to be 1 or 2 on a team superstars that are going to get offered it. And yeah, I like what you said about being able to pick a city, because in my mindset, kind of to the point you made, John, about the you never know about injury things, because you really don't. Mm-hmm. You never know when your career's over. And so to have the power while you're still playing to be able to prepare for life after basketball and potentially pick a city, if you're going to get moved, pick a city you want to be in and already be established in that city that you want to live in, and not have to figure it out after basketball or have that ability to choose your location. I would love that idea, especially if I have a family. Because it's just in a world where progressively sports are becoming more and more business, having that little bit more power for my own future, I think is worth the pay cut.
Yeah, but I think the pay cut could be ultimately 2 years, right? So 2 years no trade clause. They can throw that contract out to you.
Fine.
You're you're fine with a 2-year no trade clause with a player option, with a team option after one. I mean, versus 6 years, versus 6 years, $256 million over 6 years, guaranteed probably $200 million. Like I just see that as a benefit, more of a benefit versus okay, we're only going to sign you to a minimal deal, and they weren't giving these no trade clauses to these just the top tier. It was middle tier. So basically, now you're devaluing yourself even more to the sense of back to kind of like what Trey was saying. It's all about the value in the NBA. The reason why LeBron kept taking those bigger contracts was to get the guys below him more money. So now you're devaluing that, and now the guys below you are not getting more money. Now I think they get paid stupid amount of money to play the game.
I guess that's my thing.
But now you're hurting the players underneath you. So I guess you're hurting the generations below just to take the no trade clause. And I get why you're doing it, but I also, it's the longevity part of the thing, right? So you have 2 bad seasons. All of a sudden.
But this is really only a thing in basketball that can affect that. If you look at all the other sports, as like by position, you get unfavorable contracts by position. Whether or not like people did Brady's style of taking cuts to build a championship team, it varies by sport, right? So there's more favor as a basketball player. How do you guys see this favor in other sports, or does it favor athletes in other sports outside of basketball?
Well, I mean, like I was talking to Mike earlier about Vladimir Tarasenko, who just signed with the Canes, then kind of pulled back on the signing of the Canes. And we were talking about how if he signs a 3-year deal with the Rangers, like that doesn't verse a team that's offering him 6 years, right? So he's going to be 34 at the end of that 3 years. He takes those 3 years, let's just say, and he takes the first 2 years, he does great. The last year, he does shitty. He's never going to get that 4 or 5 year deal afterwards that he's hoping for because he did shitty in his last year, and they're going to say he declined. So I see that playing a factor in older players, the no trade clause, because you hold that power a little bit more for him in that aspect. So I feel like it plays a factor in those type of contracts where you're right towards the end of your prime going into type of thing. I know in baseball, I don't rarely ever see any contracts. There's a few contracts out there that probably have a no trade clause.
You can do a no trade in baseball. I've seen it before.
No,
it's not common.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying like I don't see it very often, right? Because these 12-year contracts are not going to be. If you're going to go, it's either 12 years or you take 3 or 4 years, right? So you're taking significantly less money, in my opinion, not just a little pay cut. You're taking significantly less because the team's going to say, okay, you want to just no trade clause? Fine, we'll sign you for a 2-year deal. We'll sign you for a 3-year deal with the no trade clause. That's fine.
Right, but to counter that, I will say this. If that happens and I'm a free agent, fine, I'll go to the market and me and my agent will go, well, they're offering me a no trade clause. So here's where we're starting. We're starting, you have to offer me a no trade clause, and then I'll just pick the best deal.
Yep.
Yeah, which for me, no trade clause can be that at times. Because I guess I would say this, like I know John's on the opposite side here, but imagine if you walked into work tomorrow and they were like, hey, you got to pack up. You still work at the same company, but they were like, hey, by the way, I know you like Miami, but you got to jump up and go work in, I don't know, Idaho.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Now you got to jump up. Remember, you got to jump up now. This ain't, as Jamie said, this ain't just you. You got a wife, you got kids, you got a dog, you got your mom, your dad, everybody else that also has to now pack up their life and move up there too in the middle of Idaho. Or maybe they stay back. Maybe your wife has a business. Maybe your wife has a certain job to stay home. But now she either has to come with you and quit her job and move it, or you got to go out there and just not see her for those 6 months a year. So for me, the value of that control is worth it because I'll be able to figure out the money for the most part. And kind of like Mike said, if you even in a position to get a no trade clause, you're probably at least mid-level. You're not going to be just some, fly-by-night guy that's barely hanging on, no matter what sport, hockey, basketball, baseball. You're not going to be a fly-by-night guy that's just hanging on. So I just want the power. But if I'm the teams, it's certain players that I'm just not giving that out easy.
Right.
That's why I think it got messed up. I don't think the players messed that up. The owners messed it up, just handing it out freely.
Correct. Like that's what I was saying. Is like kind of Melo tipped that scale, and I'm not saying Melo ruined it,
but Melo deserved it at the time.
But Melo deserved it, right? But then it started where like I feel like players didn't know, like, oh, I can do that. Like, okay, I want that in my contract, and then it's like middle tier players, like let's just say a Max Strus at this point, middle tier players were asking for the no trade clause, and it like started. I felt like it was like we had Mario Chalmers asking for a no trade clause, and you know how I feel about him. So it's like,
your favorite player.
Yeah, my favorite player. Got a jersey behind me. Yeah,
yeah, it became, especially in the NBA, but I think in other leagues to a certain extent, it became almost required that to get a really good player, you had to give them at least a partial, if not full, no trade clause. And now, like you said, John, the GMs and owners are starting to dial it back and go, no. We're just like, it's like an agreement across the leagues. Like, no, only a certain level tier of guys are even going to get offered it or even the thought of offering it.
It's going to come down to NFL type contracts, though.
100%.
If most, where it's like 2-3 year deals. Okay, you want to know trade clause? That's fine. 2-3 year deal.
Right.
We'll give you, let's say, $80 million over 3 years, and that's what you're going to get.
But if you know, NBA, it's actually okay to do that because it's proven before the NBA. I know what you said about stability injury, but we watched Kevin Durant come back and get a max deal while hurt. The
Playing
NBA
8 games in 3 years.
Right, and then comes back and is injured and comes back.
But this is for more of the middle tier guy, right? I'm talking about, so let's eliminate the top tier, right? And just talk about the middle tier guy, right? So middle tier guy really has to think, like the second level really has to think, because how valuable are you to the team? So when you look at
that's what I wanted in the middle tier, because I may not have that type of value. The other factor in, and I keep using Chris Middleton as this example. Chris Middleton is in his mid-30s, meaning more than likely he's more established in Milwaukee, so it's going to be harder for him to uproot his life than, let's say, a 20-year-old guy. I don't know if Chris Middleton has a wife and kids, but assuming maybe he has a wife and kids, there's going to take a lot more if they just jump up tomorrow and say, all right, Giannis, we need to reset this, make him happy, let's send him to Toronto. Now, that's a hell of a lot more to uproot. And that guy may have, depending on how his lifestyle is, may have made a lot in his past where it might be worth taking that pay cut. For me at that age, like me right now, in my 30s, it would be worth it to be able to control it versus my job tomorrow just sending me off. In my 20s, you send me wherever for the money. Because I didn't
here's the thing. If I know over time, I'm going to say that, and I'll take a contract for less amount of time. So the team in their mind has to figure out, how am I going to, part ways with 125 instead of, let's say, 190. I'm also trying to reverse engineer the structure of that contract. So whereas they tear it, where it's like 20 million this year, 26 million next year, and 32 million in the final year, I want it the other way.
You want front loaded.
If you're really that desperate for me, I'm reverse that contract. So you're tearing me downward, which means I'm actually easier to move if I decide, you know what, lift the trade clause because I have the power over that. Now you only have to find someone who could take me at 23. It works out better for all of us. You pay me early, there's less to move later on. So me and my agent are trying to work it to where let's restructure these deals where it doesn't tear upward, where the team has to worry about how to move me or stick with me if I suck in my third year. But hey, pay me now because you want me now. Give me that big bag right now, and then everybody's happy 3 years from now because you're paying me like 30% less than you would have to pay me the other way around because you wanted me this year.
So the problem I see in this, the 3 year no trade clause, right? When you do that front load, right? And let's say in the next one, next one I'll get a big max, right? And you're a middle tier guy, you better be performing at a high level all 3 years because of what I just said about Vladimir Tarasenko. He signs with the Rangers at a 3 year deal. He better be performing in year 3 because, as a matter of fact, he's 34 years old. And if he goes and say, I want a 5 year deal, well, and you decline in your third year big time, you declined your value. So with these top tier guys like Kevin Durant are going to get that deal, right? LeBron, Kyrie, Luka, those guys are going to get those deals. But the middle tier guys taking that deal is a risk that you may not get a max again.
Right.
You may not get the opportunity to have a max.
Bro, give me Fred VanVleet's contract any day. The guy's about to make 40 plus per year on a 3-year deal.
But
Undrafted player who didn't do that much in terms of being an overly impressive player that can carry a team. Now he does one thing exceptionally well for a smaller guy, and that's defend.
correct.
And so I feel like certain teams are like, look, we need at least Houston's personality is Ain't allowed to defend the ball. So he's a perfect fit there. But right now it seems like Houston just wants to be guard you and snatching up every guard in the market. So they're going to play small ball and try and see if they can win that way. Because it seemed to work well for Golden State. It seemed to work well for Miami. It's not like that doesn't work. So,
look who the coaches they just got. Ime Udoka, who coached a similar team in Boston. Now, before you jump down my throat, I'm not saying any of these players are like Jason Tatum. So Jason Tatum's a top 10 player in the league right now. I'm saying he has young guys.
A couple months ago.
What?
He was top 5 or top 10? What did we say? Were we arguing if his game was top 5 or top 10? I think we all had different of opinions.
I think he's top 10 player in the league. I think he's proven that over the last 2-3 years. He's taken over the Celtics organization. Now, now Jaylen Brown has taken a huge step back. But I think Ime Udoka is a perfect fit for this coach because it's a similar team to Boston. Young, athletic team who needs that veteran leadership. I think Fred VanVleet brings that veteran leadership to that team. So I think is he worth that contract? When I saw that contract, I was like, what? He's not worth $43 million. But the market for a point guard right now in the NBA, if you're anywhere in the top 15 to 20, you're going to get $40 million a year.
And that's what we call the Chris Paul effect.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
I want to know something that I want to know what Trey Day thinks about Chris Paul going to the Warriors. I argued with Mike about this. I said he's coming off the bench, and they're like, I don't understand because he was like, I don't understand it. I don't know how they're gonna what are they gonna put Curry at 2? I'm like, no, Curry's one of the top point guards of all time. Like Chris Paul's probably top 75, but maybe. But what do you think about Chris Paul being on the Warriors? Does this help them or enhance? Or kind of like put the Chris Paul curse on him?
No, I don't even know if he'll be there all year, to be honest. I'm not even saying that like as hyperbole. If it doesn't start to work out, I can see them flip him to get multiple pieces. The reason he's going to come off the bench has nothing actually to do with top 75 or anything like that. The reason he's going to come off the bench is because you have Kuminga and you have Moody. His job is to solely try to make the best of those guys, which means he has to go to the bench to make them better. If they can't figure it out with him, then those two guys maybe are not cut to what people thought they were in that case. Because when you look at it, you go all the way back to Tyson Chandler when he had his best offensive year. David West was an all-star, but his best years were with Chris Paul. When you look at recently, DeAndre Ayton, we damn near put him as a bust. We were laughing that man almost out the league. He plays with Chris Paul, and now he gets Chris Paul paid. So you put Chris Paul off the bench to make those guys better. That's why Chris Paul comes off the bench at that point. Now, he probably closes. He's probably in your closing lineup, but he's gonna come off the bench.
But I'm saying you're not starting him over. You're not starting him over Curry. I'm saying
I've heard different. I heard that they're gonna sit Looney and they're gonna start 4 small with Green as the 5. So they're gonna have CP3 as the 1, Curry as the 2. They're gonna have Clay as the 3, Wiggins as the 4, and Draymond as the 5.
I don't love it at all. You know I don't love it. Who just won the NBA championship?
The 3 team with the three towers.
Who they just lose to in the conference championship? You lost to Anthony Davis and LeBron. You go out there and try, which was that bigger team imposed their will. You go out there and try that and watch them get smoked. So they better not try that. That's what I'll say.
The one thing I said about the Heat's chances is like, Bam's gonna guard not Luka. I'm sorry, Jokic. Let's get those two confused. Bam would have guarded, but who's guarding Aaron Gordon, who's 6'10", 6'11", who can fly? Who's guarding Michael Porter Jr., 6'10", 6'11"? They're big guys, and they can get to the hoop, and they're athletic. So who's guarding those guys, right? And I agree with Trey. That's a terrible lineup, in my opinion.
You also have 2 guys.
I'm not saying it's.
I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying the best. I'm saying that's what I read.
That's
because
terrible.
the other thing is you have 2 guys also. Draymond was a self-check. The whole issue, and I text y'all this several times, Draymond's standing top of the key, refusing to shoot. He doesn't want to shoot. Chris Paul's been like that the last 2 years too. So they can go ahead and do that if they want to. The issue at that point is, okay, as good as Steph Curry is, now I can kind of lean off and help out on Steph more because now I got 2 guys that don't want to shoot the ball on the court at the same time. Chris and Draymond only work but so much together, even themselves, because of the style of play. Both of those two need the ball. Steph don't need the ball, but those two and Chris and Draymond don't want to shoot. So, yeah, you know
I
what's
don't even
crazy
say that, bro.
basketball?
Like Chris's mid-range game has improved tremendously in the last 3 seasons.
In the last year, it did not. It went down last year. His 3-point shooting and even his willingness to shoot went down.
Yeah, it's the tendency to shoot.
Yeah, his tendency. And if you don't have the tendency to shoot, then we're just going to fall back off of you. And now we're just on Steph and Clay, which is what the Lakers did, because Draymond was out there. They literally let Draymond be a self-check. You don't want to put 2 of those guys out there at that point. That would defeat the purpose.
No matter how good a point guard Chris Paul is, I will let him mid-range me to death to stop Steph and Clay.
Yep, go ahead. You got it.
Talking about doing things in excess and doing things to death. Some of you guys watched the Nathan's hot dog eating contest yesterday. Did you guys see it?
Yeah.
Of course I watched it.
It's a tradition.
Tradition.
All right. So while you guys are watching it, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys think at any moment that when Joey was walking by them after he won, that they were all like, can this douchebag just please retire and make one of us have like 15 minutes?
Oh, 100. It's been like that for years.
All of them are looking at him with so much hate, like, just friggin' retire, bro. Like, get the hell out of
16 titles. Joey Chestnut goes for 16 titles.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like 7th in a row or something like that. 8th.
2
8th in a row.
The second time he's in an AP.
This is crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
16 of the last 17.
Yeah, it's just incredible because I was watching, I think, last year's with Malin's brother, and we were watching, and we were just like, holy shit, he's at like 40 with like 9 minutes left. And it's like, yeah, I think it's impressive what he's doing, like eating hot dogs. But I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to have a hot take here. They're not doing it right. That is not how you eat a hot dog. You eat a hot dog. I don't slam my hot dog in my water and soak up.
You're trying to enjoy it.
But it's a hot dog eating contest. You got to eat the hot dog the right way. Like a normal person, you got to eat it the right way.
Bro, there's nothing normal about food eating contests.
When did the goal become normal here in a food eating contest?
I'm saying normalcy. Do it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Do it. I want to see how much
you want to win.
Okay, so Don, I have to ask you, with that being said, do you think competitive eating is an actual real sport?
I mean, they do train. So, I mean, yes and no. Like, I'm kind of...
you have to answer yes or no.
Okay, all right. Oh, man.
I got my answer, so I'll give you some time if you want.
No, I got it. Yeah, I think it is because you got to train for it. And realistically, like, the way they put even the competitors below Joey, it's like they're still putting up like what 30 or 40 hot dogs. Like
40.
Yeah, that's impressive. Like in a 12-minute span, like that's
10.
Oh, that's 12 minutes.
No, they only have 10.
10.
Oh, does the women's have 12? Because the women were at 12.
Possibly, so they don't only win with 16 hot dogs, so maybe they added 2 minutes.
But I mean, I think it is a sport because
keep that comment to myself about adding time to eat more hot dogs.
you can't just like go into that blind. You like not train for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to kind of prepare your stomach, but you got to be a freak of nature to kind of do what he's doing. I mean, that's just
well, let's go around the horn first and figure out who thinks it's a sport. And I'll give you some science behind it. As it's not so much a freakish thing. It's not that hard to train for it. It's hard to consume that much food to train for it. Mikey, you yes or no?
I've also been on the fence ever since this topic came up, kind of going back and forth, thinking about it. But yeah, I think it is because it's a competition that takes a very particular skill set that you have to train your body for, which is very similar to sports. So, like normal sports.
Jay?
Yeah, I'll give them the nod.
Trey?
Oh, it was never a thought. Yeah, hell yeah, it's a sport. It was never even a thought for me. I never thought twice about it.
So we have 4 yeses.
Yeah, we're all in agreement.
Yeah, you damn right. Because you know why? Because Michael Jordan is the basketball Joey Chestnut. And I said it the right way because Joey Chestnut is 16. He's way more dominant than Jordan. He's more dominant
And
than
Bill Russell.
No, he's more like the Bill Russell.
He's
He has
more
5 more
dominant
titles.
He's more dominant than all of those guys. He has 16 of those. He has 55 records.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. Her uncle and I were watching the women's one before. I think the women's were before the men's or whatever. And the lady that won it, I forgot her name, like Saduo or whatever her name.
Yeah. Hasn't she won 6 or 7 straight herself?
She's like a dominant champion too in the
yeah.
women's one. But like she was just funny. And they were like, she's like, yeah, I was holding down a burp and I held that down and then I put like 6 more hot dogs down. But she's like, they're interviewing them like, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, these NFL players, where I'd be like, you guys, these reporters are asking more intelligent questions at the hot dog eating contest than they are in the freaking sports games. Like, man.
The hot dog contest is lit. Even like the announcer dude, he's like lit.
They canceled it.
Lit.
They can't. Let's be honest. They canceled it too, but the competitors said no, we're not canceling it.
Real sports. They weren't going for that. They're gonna get this off.
Play in all weathers.
All right.
The
real question: why are hot dog eating competitors tougher than baseball players?
I guess because they have to be. Yeah,
they push through. I put baseball players below hot dog eating competitors.
But here's the deal, right? There's science behind this. So here's why the reason why and it's disgusting. All right, I'm gonna give you my take on this. It is disgusting to watch it. All right, it's gluttony at its worst. It's disgusting to watch grown people shovel things in their mouth with food inklings hanging off their face. That one guy from England with the beard, there's little bits of food all over. Makes me want to vomit on sight.
Right? I usually eat a hot dog while I'm watching it. I love this.
That's disgusting. Bro. Well, I was at an all-you-can-eat Asian cuisine place while we're watching it, and I'm ordering thing after thing with my eyes around. Like, maybe I'm not as disgusted by this. But anyway,
maybe I'm a part of it.
but the reason for wetting it, right, is this method they do called chip monkey, where they do a certain thing with their cheeks so they can get more food to fit in their mouth at one time. And that's so they swallow the food without chewing it. And then they have to do a specific method they learn how to do, which is to jump, okay, at a certain rate. And that jumping helps the food go down. But the more interesting one is that to have that non-gag that you hit at a certain point, most average humans will hit. You're supposed to be downing a gallon of water a day because you're supposed to be expanding your esophagus, right? That's the whole point. Because at some point, you cannot chew that fast. And if you saw Joey Chestnut afterwards, he was actually like doing this to his jaw, right? Because I can't imagine, even though they're not swallowing, they're constantly just like, it's annoying. Like, bro, if you did this nonstop for 10 minutes while trying to stuff food in our face, I guarantee you all of us, our freaking faces would be cramping up nonstop. Nonstop.
Do it after a minute.
Nonstop.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's the science behind their training, right? It's not just, however, the weird part to me is that a lot of the older competitors, I don't know if the new competitors do it, would actually sit down and eat the equivalent of what the world record was at the time in that food amount. So it might not be in 10 minutes, but in that training day, if the world record was 60 hot dogs, they would eat 60 hot dogs that day to train for it.
So their stomach is ready for it.
So the expansion, so they're getting to that expansion point when
used to holding
with the quantity.
It's used to holding that much.
I have another quick note. So, as I said, Joey Chestnut owns 55 records in Major League Eating, which is a real sport because there's a website. They have competitions. So, just as a side note, Joey Chestnut ate 182 whole wings in 30 minutes. He owns that record.
That's impressive. That's impressive. I'm not going to lie to you.
He owns the record for 47 grilled cheese sandwiches in 10 minutes. And another impressive one, and this might be the most impressive one, 121 Twinkies in 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's
I can do that.
But Twinkies are
I couldn't.
All right, Mike's throwing down the gauntlet. Let's go. You're challenging.
I feel like we should definitely. I feel like we should all definitely choose a food item, and all of us say in 5 minutes we eat X amount, and we have to do it on the show.
But
I'm down.
yours. Okay, so you got to eat chicken wings.
Bro, come on now.
You know he can't do it.
Sorry, bro.
He'll
have one. And have to go to
bacon cheeseburgers, Jamie. That's what you got.
No, but I mean, Jay back in the day could wolf down the pizza. I can tell you that for a fact. And
you know what I'm saying? I can get a vegan pizza and put down 2 large vegan pizzas in 5 minutes and show you all
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I mean, that'd be funny. That would be the entire show because afterwards you probably have to
Good to go, bro. Ready for some fries, some dessert.
So realistically, what food could you guys compete in competitively
Wings.
out of those?
Chicken wings.
I've
eaten 50 wings in less than 10 minutes before.
So the chicken wings is interesting to me because it's the bone, right? The bone ones, not boneless, right?
Yeah, bone.
That's impressive because they have to be completely gone. And that's impressive to me that he did 182, right?
Yeah, 182.
That's impressive. I mean, realistically, Jamie, if I put that in Trey and I, and Mike and I, we put down 50 wings and like that, right? So, but it's just interesting to me to see them do that and then completely take all the chicken off the bone. And then
how about this one? There's a pistachio eating one. So imagine how freaking sore your thumb.
My God.
Like there's a pistachio one. There's some really interesting ones. Of course, donuts are a popular one. Burritos.
Donuts gotta suck,
I don't know if you have the website pulled up. There's like certain foods that are very, very interesting.
Dry.
That they do
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like the donuts got to be like tough because you get like dry.
That's why they dunk it in milk or whatever.
Yeah. The milk one is impressive too because I think Joey Chestnut holds the record for the milk one too, right, Trey?
I think he does on the milk one.
Holy! I have found this. I have found the records that he has and doesn't have. Trey, you missed 141 hard-boiled eggs in 8 minutes.
Now that's disgusting.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Wow.
That's nasty.
I couldn't even come in.
He probably had to get a new house for a month to go home to his wife and kids.
John, this one goes out to you, John.
What?
12 pounds and 8.75 ounces of deep-fried asparagus spears in 10 minutes.
That's tough.
I can eat that.
That's tough because asparagus is tough to chew.
Yeah,
because it's like chewy.
But if you don't chew, that's what I'm saying. Their esophagus is like that big, so everything just it's like a freaking, what do you call it? Whirlpool. As it goes in their mouth, like down the esophagus into the intestine.
This is by far the best topic we've had on Cinco Squad.
Mike, what made you drop your jaw? What record did you just see?
A few of them.
Oh, some nasty ones on there.
53 soft beef tacos from Taco Bell in 10 minutes for Joey Chestnut.
Oh my God.
45 pulled pork sandwiches in 10 minutes.
Lord.
Now that's heavy.
Also, I'd like to point out that getting back slightly to the hot dogs before I continue, he won with 62 this year, right? Terrifying fact is that was still 14 off his record.
76.
Tying his record at 76.
Wasn't it last year he did 76?
No, 2021.
Year before 2021.
Yeah, 21, yeah.
Let's see. What else? We
He
got
went nuts that year. I remember.
There's some Sonia Thomas in 9 minutes ate 11 pounds of downtown Atlantic cheesecake.
That's tough.
But take in mind, so
that's diabetes in 12 minutes, bro.
Well, his 76 in the year 2000, I believe the champ had 25 hot dogs. So it just shows you like how much the evolution went. Really, when Kobayashi showed up and then he started doing this thing, and then Joey Chestnut shows up, and
Kobayashi, that's his name.
Two, and I'll put another one out. Those two are Magic and Larry Bird. That's what they are competitively. They literally brought that to the forefront a different way. None of us even thought about that before.
I like this topic.
Bro, here's the best stat I saw.
Give me hungry.
There was a Nigerian guy, and his fun fact of why he's a great eater, he ate 10 pounds of baked beans in less than 2 minutes.
Jesus. Yeah. And I like baked beans. Believe me, I love baked beans. I could eat a lot, but not that much.
So in less than 2 minutes. All this makes me realize why people have more bathrooms than they do bedrooms in there.
Oh yeah, because you need. If you're breaking a toilet a week, you gotta have extra bathrooms.
You gotta have the extra.
John, when I knows what I could compete in, because he's seen me do it before.
Pizza rolls.
Yep.
He did pizza rolls too. Have you seen it on there? It's on there.
No, what's this? Okay, hold on. We might have a record
It's
for me to
on there.
challenge.
It's on the list. Yeah,
Hold on.
I've seen it on there.
This motherfucker eats a box of pizza
find your
rolls.
food.
50.
Right now, determine what your food
Okay, I
is,
was
guys.
just
Like,
asking.
start thinking about what food you know
His
you
is
can put.
50?
We'll do
His
it
is
for half
50?
the amount of time.
No.
We'll do it
I
for
said
10
I
minutes.
do
We'll do it
50.
for 5 minutes.
I can do 50. It just normally, but
We got to find out what this record is.
Maybe we
Yeah,
should.
'cause I
Maybe
might-
we should try and challenge a world.
Why
record.
is Mike the scapegoat for all the challenges?
Come on, Mike, try stuff.
I feel like we're like, Mike,
What's in
try
Mike's
this. What's in Mike's cup? Mike,
Yeah.
you do this.
Okay,
Mike's
Okay.
challenging Giannis
Pepper.
and Joey Chestnut. Damn. The Greek freak and the eat freak.
And the greatest
I
of all time.
If I do this, I promise you that I'll have more weight on me than Giannis.
Open up hot dogs.
Mike, you're gonna have to take a week off of work.
I really am.
Perro caliente king.
Your
Just gonna have
mom's
to
gonna
live
be
in my
happy.
bathroom.
Your mom's gonna be happy to have your own apartment right now
Yeah.
after that
Yeah.
contest.
Yeah. I'll have to live in my bathroom for about a week.
Or your tub.
No, well, that's where I would sleep. Yes, in the bathroom.
We got the rolls
I
yet?
don't see. Oh, I don't see the.
I can't find it.
There's a lot of records on
We'll
here.
figure that out. And we'll let everyone know about what the challenge is for Mike. But I if he can do 50 and probably.
Should we do it on the show, or should we each film like us doing something for 5 minutes that gets posted on our IG page or on YouTube?
That one
Let's leave it up
We should
to.
make it a show.
Yeah,
Well, we gotta
we
make
should-
sure we can actually finish the show.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So,
Yeah.
Well, we should end the show that way then.
so
Oh,
I
yeah,
see.
saw that
I
one,
see
yeah.
pepperoni rolls, which
I
if
saw
that's
pepperoni
the,
rolls.
if that's the same thing as pizza rolls.
No, those are bigger. Pepperoni rolls are bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because that's
Maybe
30.
it's one like
That's
this.
33 in 10 minutes. I'll break that
No, they're
easy.
bigger than that.
Okay.
Are you sure,
They're
Mike?
at the size of
Pizza,
the crouton-
pepperoni rolls are
crouton
big.
size.
Bro, after 2 of those,
No.
Maybe
I'm
like
saying
33.
saying if it was pizza rolls, if the record
Yeah.
was 33 pizza rolls in 10 minutes, I could
No
break that
chance.
easy.
somebody could probably eat that in 1 minute.
Yeah, something
I
like
could
that.
probably eat that in 1 minute, and I'm not even that good.
Well,
But
as we continue this chilling conversation, let's talk about what sports moment gave you goosebumps or chills the most. And we'll go around the horn. And you take the floor. Trey Dave, you first.
Kobe Bryant's last game, 2016.
Mm,
And that one now, going back to watch it for obvious reasons, RIP, of course, it gives me a different type of chill. It was then because that's my favorite athlete of all time, just as a side note. And to see his last game, because I remember everything with him from draft day to the end. So that is more than any athlete, the person I watched the complete process. I watched the ups, the downs, the losing, the winning, the records being broken. So to watch him end it like that. And then the other dope part about his ending, you had so many people out there. You had the Kareem Stacks. You had your just different celebrities. You had everyone was out there. And remember that night, the Warriors were breaking the single season record, but nobody gave a damn because it was Kobe's last night. So they had it on at the same time. So that then gave me chills. And if you put it on now, I mean, it obviously,
yeah.
for sad reasons, gives me always chills.
Mhm.
What about you, Jay?
Boy, there's so many, man. Like, start
It was
thinking
tough
back.
for me.
Yeah, it's so tough. I mean, definitely the American men's relay and the 4x1 free, because I was on the first night and Phelps is going for the record, and you're like, I can't believe it's gonna be over. Like in the first night, like
Right.
all the it's gonna be deflated. Like the Olympics and swimming is now gonna be an afterthought because Phelps is gonna get 1 silver and it's gonna taint. And Jason Lezak might have had them. I'm just thinking about watching him swimming now. I mean, he was so far behind in swimming in that terms. It's like there's no way he's making up this ground. And when he hit to go into that last 50,
Yep.
and now at the time that was the world record holder for France. So it's not like he was going against a chump. He ran down the world record holder, and you're feeling the energy, and the building itself is like everybody's like crescendoing in the excitement. And when he touched like Phelps's face, because he knew it, he's like, this is the only one that I needed. Yeah, it was like this like
primal.
primal. And all his veins are popping in his neck. But all time for me is Jimmy V's SB speech. Like, all time for me, like no matter how much I watch it, I cry, like it tears me up.
Yeah.
I get chills from it. Like every time I watch it, I feel different emotions because knowing the kind of man he was, like looking back on his coaching career, when you do research on what kind of coach he was, and just having such a good heart, it always makes you think, like, why do the good ones have to be the ones that suffer through this so often?
Yeah.
And just the way he went out and the message that he shared with everybody was so touching. It doesn't matter how old you are; they could run that thing until I die. I'll have the same chills and probably feel just as emotional every time I watch that.
Yeah.
Might feel like-
Jay, you were before we go to Mike. Jay, you were at that Olympics, weren't you?
No, I wasn't at that one. No, I was
Okay.
in Sydney. I tell you, the moment that really gave me chills in Sydney was her name's not coming to mind now, but she was like the darling of track and field for Australia, and she was running the 400, and I was at the stadium that night, and she was favored to win, but there was still two other competitors that could have stole that gold medal from her. And when she came around the last bend and she started to separate herself, the way that stadium rose up and the energy is like you couldn't even help yourself. Like the energy of the stadium lifted you out of your seat. And the euphoria of her winning that goal and watching her cry on the track and her coach embracing her and saying, man, she did this in Australia and she's an Australian, and you know that just being that instant hero for your country, because they hadn't had success like that on the track. So the way they embraced her and watching that all unfold, it was an incredible moment for me to be there when that happened. That was one of the most memorable moments for me being at any given games, especially at the Olympic Games, to see something that special happen.
You're talking about Kathy Freeman. She beat out
Kathy Freeman. Thank you, Kathy Freeman. Yep.
She beat out a woman from Jamaica.
It's pretty cool you were there. It's pretty cool that
Yeah,
you were
that's
there.
awesome.
Yeah, that's dope.
Mike, what's yours?
So, yeah, I agree with you guys. It's very difficult. There were a lot of moments that came to mind immediately upon reading when John first sent that in the group chat.
Yeah, flooded everything back.
Well, no, honestly, like I got tossed back to like all like progressively throughout my childhood and getting older and watching, you know, more and more different sports and getting more appreciation for all of them. It's tough to not say one from a team you root for. So I try to take myself outside of a team I root for. Because one of the immediate ones I thought was Jeter's last game at Yankee Stadium when he hit the walk-off.
I knew you were going to say that.
That was awesome. But
I knew you were going to say that.
But I took myself out of being a Yankee fan.
You could have.
I know I could have, but there was one that as a sports fan was awesome to me, and we're going to stay in the same sport, but it was the Cubs winning the World Series in 2016. That last out.
Nope, terrible night.
I'm sorry, Trey, but no, but the fact that the way that whole series and especially that game progressed, you know, the Cubs take control and then Cleveland comes back and the Cubs take control and then Rajai Davis hits the home run, which was electric in and of itself in Cleveland. And then, but the fact that, like, you know, little roller to Chris Bryant, it's the last guy off. It's Michael Martinez, last guy off Cleveland's bench. I'm sorry, Trey, but the last gasp for Cleveland that night. Bryant nearly messes up because he slips. But the fact that Rizzo, who's a Yankee now, thank God, just sticks it, and then if you pay attention, you see him put the ball in his back pocket to save it, and just, I think the sports world, and especially the baseball world, could just feel 108 years of suffering and struggle just melts away as you watch those guys celebrate in the wee hours of the morning. I think
the whole baseball world did not feel that.
Okay, the whole baseball world, aside from the at the time 67-year drought for the Cleveland.
Just say.
Okay, that's fine, but everybody but Cleveland.
Not to mention that entire series changed the way the All-Star game is played. By the way, because the Cubs realistically were the best team in baseball that year.
And they should have had home field.
They should have had home field
and won that. That's the one part of it that I think is unfortunate for Cubs fans, is that they didn't get to break that on their own field. I think that would have been even cooler. But still, that moment.
I'm going to give you a side note. And we say this in Cleveland. I know not to break it. I wish the Cubs were home because remember, what's the guy named Schwarber? He went and got the DH, and that was the swing. he would have DH. So the Indians
Yeah.
actually at the time, not Guardians.
Cleveland would have benefited
might
from
have actually benefited from playing
Yeah.
on the road.
Yeah.
And everybody in Cleveland's theory actually is that switch series may have been better because he doesn't play 4 games, he plays 3 or has to go in that field, and that actually changed a lot. So
Right.
Now let me ask you this:
they graciously didn't play that at home.
do you think that sparked LeBron's desire to win one for Cleveland even more, being there in that stadium that night and watching them go down?
No, because that was after the Cavs won.
Yeah, the Cavs won before.
The Cavs won.
Oh, that's right. The Cavs had won like a week before, or
a month
before, right?
That summer, and then the Guardians or Indians at the time, they were later that summer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because baseball season was going on while the championship.
That's right.
was
I
going
thought
on.
it was the following year. You're right. It
Might
was
have
The
prompted him to
ceremony
leave.
actually happened during the World Series, right across the street at the same time.
Yeah.
Might have prompted him to leave. Man, these guys can't put another winner together. All right, I'm out. But no, that was a big thing for me, especially as a like general baseball fan who loves the game and the history of the game. Just knowing that was the most suffering fan base at the time. Now it's Cleveland because of that. But
I even bought a hat. How big that was? I even bought the World Series hat.
Well, right, and I think
we were in school together. I bought
the
the hat immediately after. I was like, "This." It was a dope hat too.
Yeah,
I can bring it
back
out here. But
I remember we got back from the BV to the apartment just in time for the last out.
Yeah,
and it was just so cool to see the raw emotion of the players and Cubs fans in attendance and stuff of just like it's finally over. But so that's
it
my.
was a disbelief moment. I was kind of in disbelief, and for me,
you never thought it would happen.
The Harry Carey call of games, I was like, man, what would I take to hear him make that final call?
I know, that would have been incredible.
Yeah,
that would have been incredible.
I know you hate all this place, so we'll move on.
Yeah, John, what you got?
It's cool. I think this perk is underrated. The Indians had World Series lost. The Cubs hadn't been there. So.
Hey, the Dodgers got one, so you're good.
Yeah, I need all my teams to win.
I understand. John, what do you got?
So I was fumbling through a lot. Jeter's obviously was big for me because I was sitting in my room watching it, and I knew I kind of you felt that energy was going to happen in that stadium that night. When it was just too perfect.
It was meant to be.
Runner on second, 2 outs, 3-2 count, and you got the captain up, in his final time. You just had that feeling that it was going to happen. Obviously, Eagles Super Bowl was huge for me, but I'll take it back to my first ever championship. It was 2003.
Yep.
And I was sitting on the couch. I can't remember how old I was. Let's see. 11. Sitting on the couch with my mom and dad, and ball gets swung into the corner, and all of a sudden, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now. Ball gets swung in the corner, and I'm like, fuck, like this. And all of a sudden, Hakeem Ward comes up and blocks the shot. And I thought I jumped 100 feet off the ground. It was just like, oh my God, we just won the national title. And like, I held my breath the whole time. And I was holding on tight because like they still had about, I think, 2 seconds left, which was enough to get a shot off. And you had Kirk Heinrich, who was, I think, player of the year that year. No, Carmelo was, but like he was up there in player of the year status. And it was just like, come on, just hold on. And that was like the best. That was like started like my champ. Like obviously, years before I got to watch the Yankees win 3-peat and stuff. Mm-hmm. But that was just like to see like everyone in Syracuse and like Marshall Street was going nuts. And we went down for the parade and we went down for like Q's Jam where like they had everything at the Dome where Boeheim had the orange hat and. It's just that was like the best moment. I just got chills just thinking about that block. And I watched the Syracuse documentary of the 2003 team, and that was like the best block I've ever seen. Like best defensive play. Because if you watch that play, Hakeem Ward's on the other side of the basket. Mm-hmm. He's on the other side of the basket.
Way up.
And he crosses over and jumps from the free throw and jumps and blocks it. Mm-hmm. That's how impressive that was. So I mean that all time is my favorite. And
there's a couple I think there's a couple other moments where it doesn't matter whether you're a fan or not, coming off the circumstances of how it affects the world. Like definitely New Orleans after this, after everything happened with Hurricane. I think it was against the Falcons. That stadium was so electric, and the last vision we saw of that stadium were things they couldn't show you. People dying in the stadium because they couldn't get enough medical attention to people at the time. So it
Right.
went from knowing the Superdome for a long time of being somewhere that became a graveyard for a lot of people of the city of New Orleans. So all of a sudden they have their football team back and they play. They probably would have beat any team in the history of football that night with the amount of electricity that was in that stadium. I think they crushed the Falcons something like 28-3 or something like that. And obviously I'm not a Saints fan by any bit. It's probably the least favorite team in the NFL by far for me. But I think you're just rooting for that team because of how much it meant to the city.
You're rooting for the city more.
Yeah,
You're rooting for the city because of the everything that happened, and I think that's the biggest thing that I noticed where people are like, I can't believe you're such a big sports fan, and I think it brings the reason why we love sports is because we do stuff like this, the show, and ultimately we do. It brings people together, whether you argue with them and fight, but it brings that passion out in you that's gets you out of your everyday job, like your 40-hour-a-week job that, you had a bad day at work or had a bad day in general. You can always count on sports to always kind of lift you up a little bit. And that's why I always take that as a passion is because I can always go to a game and, no matter what, I can watch the game and just be happy, in that aspect. So I think that's really cool. All of our moments. And I think
cap's on.
What's that?
Mike looks like his thinking cap is on.
Yeah. So first of all, Jay, I have a personal example of that, which was 2013. That was the year. Surprisingly, I can't believe it was 10 years ago, but that's when the unfortunate Boston Marathon bombing was.
Yeah.
And then that October, the Red Sox won the World Series, and I remember specifically that was and that was the year that I sat back, especially with the Red Sox, and was like, okay. As much as I'm a big Yankee fan and so rivalry and all that, I was like, you know what? Okay. Good for you. Awesome.
Did the Pats win? Didn't the Pats win that year too? Or is that when they lost to the Giants?
No, I think they lost.
Pats went until 2016. They went on a 10-year drought.
Yeah, that drought at some point.
Yeah. But that kind of spawned John's answer with Syracuse. Kind of spawned an interesting quick question for me, which is talking about moments. Is there anything really better than your first? I don't want to say unpredictable, but one-off kind of championship.
What do you mean?
Well, so you had Syracuse, right? Which it's hard to repeat as national champions, especially around that time. There's a lot of fantastic programs. So Syracuse, it's awesome. We got a championship in a time when, it's tough. Your team got a championship. For me, it's that 07-08 Super Bowl. It was the unpredictability for me of the Giants are a wild card team, battling an undefeated Patriots team. And it's that may be right now, at least right now for me, and I think it would be trumped by a Rangers Stanley Cup. But for me, that's the most raw excitement I've ever had for one of my teams winning a title, in the sense of I didn't ever think it was going to happen.
Well, I didn't think it was unpredictable. Now remember, we dominated the Big 12 that whole run. So for unpredictability wise, I had a feeling.
That's why I don't want to say that.
We dominated Texas. We dominated Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Manhattan. Manhattan was a top tier team in the NCAA that year. So for me going into that game, I was very confident because we had the player of the year in Carmelo Anthony, who obviously wasn't going to be the number one pick because of LeBron, but probably in my head I thought he was going to be the number 2 pick. I didn't think he was not going to drop to 5.
I guess what I would mean by unpredictability.
Three, right. But for me, honestly, the one championship that was honestly surprising for me is probably the 06 Heat team. That was a surprising team. Even though
you think that more Eagles championship did you have?
That Eagles championship. Foles? So I wasn't confident with Nick Foles. I was confident in Doug Peterson in rechanging the game plan. And when we went to that first game against the Falcons, I was like, okay. But after we beat the Vikings like they did, especially after the momentum, remember that was a miracle in in Minnesota. So like that was that Stephon Diggs play that he ran it in, right at the end of the clock. I was like, okay, we dominated the Vikings. Now the Vikings that we always pretty much dominated. So in my head, I thought, okay, we have a really good. I had a feeling we were going to win that game because we just had the team to do so. We had the chemistry to do so. So for me, like the 06 Heat team, I think was because it was Lonzo Mourning, it was Shaq, Dwayne Wade, Gary Payton. It was all those guys, right? But they're on their way out of their prime, right? We got old Gary Payton, we got old Lonzo Mourning. So for me, I was like, oh man, we're playing a tough team here. And I believe we beat Dallas.
It was Dallas.
Yeah, it was Dallas. Dirk's first.
Dirk. Jason Kidd was not on it. No, I don't think he was on that team. I think he was on the Nets at that point.
He was still on the Nets.
He had just.
He's on the Nets. He's on the second Dallas run.
He was on the second Dallas run, but they had Dirk Nowitzki, who was
Michael Finley was
Michael Finley. Yeah. Like I can't remember the Dallas team, but like
Jason Terry,
Sean Marion,
Jason Terry. They had a lot of great young guys, and like when I was like, damn, I don't know if we can beat. I don't know. I really didn't think they were gonna win that, and then like they ended up prevailing and win that championship. So I think that would be mine. Trey, what about you?
I mean, I guess my team, but both in my lifetime were both very unpredictable. So I guess for me they both were, because the first one in 02-03 was against that Miami team that had everybody and their mama out there playing going to the NFL. We're starting Craig Crimson, and they basically out here with the exception of Ken Dorsey. Everybody else basically went on to be like a Pro Bowler like every year. Like Willis McGahee, he's backup. Was a starter that Willis McGahee got hurt. But then the 14 run was also improbable because they lost early. We lose our quarterback to start the year. Then we lose our other quarterback in the Michigan game. We're down to a third-string quarterback with a bunch of sophomores playing. So for both Ohio State championships, for me, were very improbable and fun because in both Ohio State championships, I always love this feeling. And maybe it's more fun for me as a sportsman. I love playing with house money. It's something about being the favorite. It ain't fun. It's like you feel like your team got to do this, and you feel like, oh my God, we suck. When your team is playing with house money, it's like, man, if we lose, I mean, it sucks. We got next year, and if you win, it's a bonus. And that's what the 14 championship in particular felt like, because it was like, oh, we got Zeke, Joey Bosa, Michael Thomas. They'll be back next year. But also, and I would say it's any sports fan, that's why you better appreciate every championship, because next year ain't promised. And in my mind, we won it. We had next year, and we still ain't had next year yet. So you better enjoy it while you can. What about you, Jay?
By far, it's the Bucs, man. The worst sports franchise in all of sports in terms of winning percentage. You knew that it was Dungy's Super Bowl as opposed to it being Gruden's, but as soon as we drew the Raiders in the Super Bowl, it's like there's no way we're going to lose this game. But ironically, and John's not going to like it, was getting over the hump of beating the Eagles in the playoffs, and the Bucs had never won a game below 40 degrees. And when they won that game, where they were like, oh, for eternity, and they finally win that game, you're like, if it's not our year this year, then we're never going to win the Super Bowl. And same like you, it's like, yo, we have the roster to win 2 in a row, and then it's almost 20 years later because Brady accidentally ends up in Tampa instead of San Francisco and win a second one. So,
I mean, that kind of ignited the Eagles to go heavy on free agency and trades in the offseason because they went heavy, and then that was that dominant team. I got the poster over here. That 04 team was nasty.
Yeah,
they got Takeo Spice, Little Shepard, and they had some boys in there. So,
they got
good Dawkins.
Of course, that's the captain. That's the captain right there.
Well, you know, guys, I remember when Notre Dame. Oh,
got blown out by Alabama.
First Catholics.
Yeah, they won that one. I wasn't live, but no. I think it's just those are some of the titles, that are just wild to think about, like being a fan for.
Well, if you're listening at this point, let us know what your favorite sports moment is, and give you chills. Comment below. Let us know. But I think the squad is going to make our own sports moment here and have Cinco Squad Stump the Squad. Take it away, Jay.
Boy, ladies and gentlemen, this is our favorite time of the show. Welcome to Stump the Squad. This is where we pretend we don't know everything in sports. We really do it. If I get an answer wrong, just so you feel good about yourself. So we ask each other questions. Winner gets 2. People who get it wrong get -2. Person who gets the most points at the end of Stump the Squad gets the rant of the week. I'm the defending champ this week. Let's see if we can make it 2 in a row. Mikey, would you like to start us off this week?
Sure, I can start you off this week.
Right.
We're talking about sports moments. Actually, it's a great segue into me being the first question asker because I have a sports moment, a very exciting sports moment question to ask you guys. So, which player has the most total walk-off home runs in MLB history? So this is over the course of their career. They hold the record for most walk-off home runs in their career. Okay? A, Jim Thome. B, Albert Pujols. C, Babe Ruth. Or D, Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle.
One more time.
A.
The answer.
No,
Yes.
no, it's not Mickey Mantle.
A, Jim Thome. B, Albert Pujols. C, Babe Ruth. Or D, Mickey Mantle.
Going to tell me.
Yeah, I want to say Jim Thome too. I pulled back on the Mickey because Mickey was a great player, but I don't know. I can't remember a lot of walk-offs. I'm gonna say Jim Thome.
You don't remember because you were there? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was there. I was.
That 61 season was fantastic.
I was in the nosebleeds though. I couldn't really tell. I was working the lights.
I know I always feel like Albert had teams where he had a lot of speed in front of him and people were on base quite a bit with his leadoff hitters. I'll go with Albert.
Okay, so everybody locking their answers in?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we got 2 Jim Thomes from Trey and John, and an Albert Pujols from Jamie.
Yep.
Well, this week I have successfully stumped
The squad. The squad.
Jamie.
Oh, damn it.
It's Jim Thome with 13.
I actually knew that.
However, the other three guys are all tied at 12 for second.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
Jim Thome, not what I would have expected. Not who I would have guessed if you gave me open.
But the Cleveland years.
Yeah, no, it was 100% the Cleveland years.
Yeah, I grew up watching. That's literally when I started watching baseball. Was Jim Thome years of baseball.
Third baseman, Jim Thome?
First baseman, Jim Thome.
Yeah, there you go.
Mostly
Jim
DH.
Mostly DH, Jim Thome, yeah. All right.
I just thought because of the year
nice.
Pujols had last year that he may have crept up that list. That's why I thought it may have been.
Yeah, no. You would think they're all big home run hitters, but
I mean, they're off by 1, so I mean, it's not too
not
far
far.
off. All right.
Okay, so today, let's see, we talked about chilling moments. And for me, like I said, my chilling moment was Kobe Bryant. Close to Kobe Bryant, one of my most chilling moments as a Lakers fan involves Kobe Bryant throwing the oop to who? Diesel. Shaquille O'Neal. But Shaquille O'Neal is much more than a basketball player. Shaquille O'Neal is also a rapper.
oh God.
So, which DC's rap legend did Shaquille O'Neal not record a song with?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Coolio, Nate Dogg, Biggie Smalls, or Tupac Shakur?
Oh, that's fucking tough.
I'll run it back for you. Which deceased legend did Shaq not record a song with? Coolio, Nate Dogg, Biggie Smalls, or Tupac Shakur?
Shit, I forgot Coolio's dead.
Tupac.
Nate Dogg.
Okay, so today I have successfully stumped Mike.
Yeah, he definitely has a song with
Yeah, he did. It was
Well, because I'm thinking like Tupac died first, and then Biggie died a few years later. So I mean, it could have happened.
Remember, Shaq started rapping before they died. Like Shaq was rapping early.
Shaq was rapping before that, but Shaq with
felt like that was too easy.
He did a song with Coolio. It was for like it was some compilation album with Quincy Jones. The Nate Dogg moment, funny enough, I was actually at the Lakers pep rally that year when that song was released. I was right next to the stage, the Mark Master dances, and they come out and they do the ladies. They do that song. I'm right there, actually. I'm too short to see on camera, but I'm right next to the stage. The Biggie Smalls song he had, but as a side note, he actually had a song with Michael Jackson, too. So he had a lot of legends.
Wow.
Yeah. that he recorded with.
Diesel, baby.
Yeah, so Diesel, not only great basketball player, I want to say a great artist, but he recorded with a lot of great artists. But let's see. What does Jay have? Let's see if he can finish this crown. What does Jay got?
You know, I thought Mikey was gonna have the same question as me for a minute. Then I was like, because I heard him going with home run. My question is also a baseball question this week, and I would like you guys to tell me which current active player in the MLB has the most multi-home run games. Is it your boy Gio Stanton? Your real boy Aaron Judge? Is it Manny Machado? Or is it Mike Trout?
Let's see, the outlier in that group is actually Manny Machado.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Everybody else was in the same. One more time.
Yeah.
So we got Gio Stanton, Aaron Judge, Manny Machado, and Mike Trout. The player with the most the most games with multi-home runs.
I'm going Machado.
Only active.
Judge.
All rise.
It is
All
Mr.
rise.
Trout.
Gentlemen, final answers locked in?
Yeah, Machado. Yep.
I have successfully stumped Mike and John. It is Manny
Machado,
who just did it last week by passing Aaron Judge, and he now has 10 games.
I knew Judge had a lot of them. I did not know that Machado passed him.
I feel like they did, but I feel like the rest of them got walked too much.
Yep.
that was why.
All right, so we have a score of
I'm out.
me at 2, Mike is out, Dunzo, Rapunzel, Jamie, Trey at 4, and
Don't sound so excited.
Jamie at 0. You have to. You're all excited when the Patriots lost. You're like the Patriots of the Cinco Squad, and I guess it's my turn. So, all right.
So we need Trey to get it wrong. You have to get it wrong. I have to get it right.
Well, I mean,
But you can.
I got my question right.
If Trey gets it wrong, I get it right. We got a 3-way tie. So, Mikey, you be ready for the tiebreaker.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, you can just do your. Oh wait, you already gave away the answer. So never mind.
Yeah.
I was saying, don't give away numbers next time, so you can hold on to the tiebreakers. All right, in 1923, who hit the very first World Series homer in Yankee Stadium?
Jesus.
Was it Joe Dugan, Casey Stengel, Irish Measle, or Aaron Ward?
Irish Measle. Where did that name come from?
Okay.
Very popular.
I'm not gonna say it, but I know who it's not.
Irish Measles. One more time. Give me the answers.
In 1923, who hit the very first World Series home run in Yankee Stadium? Joe Dugan, Casey Stengel, Irish Measle, or Aaron Ward?
Former Carolina Hurricanes defenseman Aaron Ward.
Yes.
And New York Rangers defenseman Aaron Ward, actually.
I'm going Casey Stengel.
Trey?
Yeah, that one's screaming correct to me, but I'm gonna go with B.
Which is Casey Stengel.
Casey Stengel is B.
Who's A then?
Joe Dugan.
Joe somebody.
Sorry, Joe Dugan.
Okay. Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Mike?
Oh, I said Aaron Ward.
Aaron Ward?
Yeah.
I have successfully stumped Jamie and Mike. It is Casey Stengel of the of the New York Giants.
That's who I thought it wasn't. Okay.
Giants of New York.
It was Casey Stengel of the New York Giants, and the Yankees won that series 4-2. And our Week 66 champion is Mr. Trey Day.
I'm not fully prepared here. I've tied like 3 of the last 4 weeks. I had to go to a tiebreaker, so I didn't really fully prepare. But I guess let's see what interesting news did I read today. Let's see who annoys me. Who annoys everybody here? Jerry Jones. God damn it! Why did Netflix give Jerry Jones a damn 10-part Netflix series about his damn life? They just cleared that 10 parts. They paid $50 million for his life. Do we really need that from Jerry Jones? We know who Jerry Jones is. He's going to manipulate it. He's going to go rip Jimmy Johnson. He's going to go rip everybody else we didn't like. and he's going to make this all about himself because that's what Jerry Jones does. So do we really need that? Even if you're a Cowboys fan, shouldn't you be sick of this guy by now? He's probably cost you an extra 3 or 4 championships. If you're not a Cowboys fan, you're annoyed of him. You're annoyed of him sitting there doing his little clap thing in the booth and all that. I'm sick of that dude. 10 parts? They're probably 2 pieces apart or 2. I can't even speak. I'm like so annoyed with this. Jerry Jones is a Michael Jordan. What does he need his own Last Dance documentary for? Netflix, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should literally be ashamed of yourself. I'm going to spend my next couple weeks watching Hulu whenever that starts because I do not want to click my Netflix to see one of the top trending things as a Jerry Jones documentary. And that's what I got for it.
Well, shit, that means the whole thing's going to be between the year 91 and 96 because that's about the only time Dallas won playoff games in his whole tenure there.
And then it's going to be a whole let's stump out Jimmy Johnson's character while he's at it.
You know what would be cool if they did that for the first time in the 10th season? It went 1, and then the number 10 and the 1 faded to 0, and it goes playoff wins since 1996 for the Cowboys. Episode number 10.
So we're gonna have 91 through 96 in the first 6, and then what's 6 through 10? Like just Jerry's
him hating Jimmy Johnson, blindly supporting Jason Garrett,
Tony Romo,
and saying Tony Romo's a top 5 quarterback in the league at all times.
I agree with you, Trey. I didn't understand it when I saw it. Like I get Tom Brady. He had 20 years of success over that time. And then he did have kind of dramatic 10-year drought before, not even 10 years. I think it was like 9 years, something like that, to go to the Super Bowl. So it was like there was that dramaticism where you could have a middle 5th episode where it's like, oh, what happened? And then have him on the uprise.
Mm-hmm.
But Jerry Jones, like you said, Jamie, 91 to 96. And then we never pretty much heard from the Cowboys again. They have 1 playoff win. They allowed Peyton Manning to score a rushing touchdown, like
which is a bad thing in and of itself.
Like the shamefulness just keeps going on and on and on. Like enough of this guy.
You're almost Cowboys fans at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not even I don't even hate the Cowboys really, right? Like I don't care for them. They've never really been they've been a threat to the Eagles, but they're not a threat. They're just
annoying. They're just annoying.
You can shake your head all you want, but 1 playoff win in 25 years,
I'm not shaking my head. You just said I don't hate the Cowboys. That's I'm like,
you do hate
them. I hate them because they're annoying. I hate them in the fact that I have to watch them every single week.
Yeah.
And Dre and I talk about this all the time. Like, if you're gonna put a product on the field and we gotta watch you every single week, at least be good, man, or competitive.
Right.
Like the team sucks. Like, and it's terrible. Dak Prescott, not a $40 million quarterback, but he's going to get that contract. But yeah, that I'm not going to watch that docuseries. I'm more interested in the docuseries of the 2006-2008 Florida Gators team. That has some boys on there, but I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, some people on there, all right.
That's the one you talk about.
I'm excited to see the stories of the contrast.
For real.
Seriously, between the most Christian man we've ever met in our lives.
That's what I said. Catholic versus convicts,
and the most non-Christian guy we've ever seen in our lives.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I 100%. It's Catholic versus convicts in one team.
Yeah,
I was really going to show you how dirty Urban Meyer really is as a coach.
Oh, he's a dirtbag.
Yeah. Cam Newton's going to be part of that too.
Yep.
Well, fellas, any final thoughts before we head into our weekend?
For sure. This just in. Dame Lillard might be a Celtic by this time next week.
I've seen the rumors. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully,
Brown package.
Maybe. Hopefully, Vladimir Tarasenko is a New York Ranger by this time next week.
And my prediction would be right.
on a good. Yeah. Well, yes, Jay. Hopefully, your prediction will be right. We will see, but I'm holding out hope. You've given me hope. I hope you understand what you've done to me. Thank you.
Here for you, Mike. Always here for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, and before we go, I wanna get your picks, and we'll go around the horn real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. who do you have winning the home run derby? And if you
Oh.
don't know the list, Mikey can bring it up for you because I know he
I
had it.
can't. Hold on.
So it is between
Julio
Mikey-
Rodriguez.
Julio Rodriguez, Vlad Guerrero,
Vlad Guerrero.
Mookie Betts.
Mm-hmm. Adley Rutschman.
Go ahead.
So we've got in our opening rounds, we've got Luis Robert Jr. versus Adley Rutschman, Adolis Garcia versus Randy Arozarena, Pete Alonso versus Julio Rodriguez, and Mookie Betts versus Vlad Guerrero.
I'm going to Oriole.
Adley Rutschman.
Adley Rutschman.
Yeah.
I'm going
Vlad.
Oriole.
I'm going Julio.
I'm going Vlad.
Okay.
Jamie?
Randy Arozarena.
What a shocker!
I don't blame you for going for him. He's got some pop, so I don't know.
He does.
I mean,
He absolutely does.
Man. He's been popping.
his rookie year was pretty impressive. So,
And he and Julio have swings that are like meant for a home run derby. They're very like smooth, level.
well, we saw Julio last year for that, so we know he can do it.
That close, yeah.
Yeah. So, well,
that's why I got him. So.
Well, everyone, tune in to Home Run Derby Monday night. All-Star game on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday you got your favorite squad back. So we'll see you guys next week for episode 67. Tune in on Thursday at noon. Like, share, and subscribe. Socials below. We'll see you here next week. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Lawn